In this episode of Fictional Hangover, we talk about the narrator, the thin kid, the weird guy, and my dude. What the fuck being both the question and the answer. Arnold Schwarzenegger and Patrick Swayze being done dirty, and making our own blood and teeth in our discussion of Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay. So good. Hey everybody, welcome to Fictional Hangover, a podcast about young adult and new adult, and sometimes other books, series, authors, voice actors, and illustrators that is full of spoilers. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire, and today we're going to discuss Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay.
Standard disclaimer. If you haven't read this book, please remember that Fictional Hangover is all about spoilers. If you haven't read or listened and don't want to be spoiled, stop listening to us and go read or listen to the book. Then come back. If you haven't done this but want to pretend that you have, or if you don't care about spoilers, or if you just like the show so much that you don't care about any of that, then listen up.
Yay!
Yay! Yay! This one's outside of our norm, Claire. Kinda.
It is. Well, it still falls within the adult fiction.
It does, but I don't know, it's just it's slightly different.
It's a bit more grown up.
It is a bit more grown up, considering that the main character in the majority of it is, what, like 50?
At times he's in his 20s, we'll let him off.
Yes, that's true.
It dips. But it more importantly, it matches this month's book challenge theme, which is Booyah, it's the 90s, yo.
Yes.
Which is read a book set in the 90s, or references from the 90s, or better yet, written in the 90s.
Right. And we've got one coming up later that is written in the 90s, but this one just mentions the 90s. And it's... Yes. Oh, man.
Last week's was tenuous with the Jurassic Park, so... We do have a tenuous link. This one is fully not
this
tenuous.
One is
it's fully in the 90s.
Fully takes place in the 90s. Part of it.
Yes, but still counts.
It does.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But speaking of book club challenges, the book club challenge themes for 2025 have been released. They're all over the socials. So check them out. That's pinned on the book club on Facebook, and it's also pinned on the Instagram profile.
Yes.
And there are some absolutely ridiculous ones as per usual.
I mean,
I'm very much looking forward to them.
My favorite one doesn't happen until November.
Sure.
I know, but it's just everything else has really long titles, like almost so long that they wouldn't fit on like the artwork that we use. But this one's just teeth. Whose theme is that? Oh, it's chosen specifically for me. Teeth.
It is.
Anyway, we're not there yet. We are not currently in next November, Claire. So
no, we're still past Miranda and Claire.
Yes.
Let's dive into some even more past stuff with background information.
Oh, I like it. I read an interview with Fangoria, and they say, people often describe you as a cinematic writer. Do you agree? And Paul says, I'm not sure what that means, to be honest. And I really, really appreciated that. But he goes on to say, I was 22 when I fell in love with reading, and before that, my knowledge of story was almost solely based on film and television. So, maybe he is a cinematic writer. He says, the last 30 years have been a crash course in reading, but film is still the start of what I thought of as story. And as a writer of novels, I can still put that to use. But I also worry about that because I want to write a book that's going to be, a book. I love it. But we know that Cabin was made into a movie. Knock at the Cabin.
Yes.
Cabin. What is it called? What is his Cabin in the Woods?
Cabin at the End of the World.
Cabin at the End of the World. Okay, so
I have thoughts and feelings about the movie.
Same.
Read the book.
Same.
Is my ultimate conclusion.
Same. Me too. And I read another bit of background info that Head Full of Ghosts is maybe in production. So that is good. I enjoyed that one. But I would love to see this one created.
Oh, 100%.
Or parts of it. The original?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I think it could be very good if done correctly. So I would like to see it.
My fun factoid for you is he's producing his first YA book soon. And he's been advertising on his socials. So I think that's very exciting as well, that he's dipping his toes into the YA category. So that will be very much within the Fictional Hangover wheelhouse.
Definitely. And he was kind enough to respond to us when we invited him to join us with very short notice, that he is unable to join us for this episode. But, I have good feelings, high hopes that maybe he would possibly join us in the future if we ask, prior to the week before we record the episode.
Yeah, let's not do it last second. But I mean, to be fair, I think I just think about Jackson Ford. Who literally contacted us and went, yeah, I'm actually Jackson Ford of Jackson Ford fame. And we're like, are you? I thought you were supposed to be an enigma, a mystery.
Yes.
And then suddenly, best friend of the show.
Right, I know. It's amazing. And, sometimes I'm afraid to reach out to people because, you've had movies made. You're way above our caliber. We don't.
You're like a capital B, capital D, big deal.
Yes, big deal TM. And we are lowercase.
What is our caliber?
Big deal. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know.
Can we just be in a different font?
Yes, but like a childlike scrawl.
As long as it's not Comic Sans, I'm fine.
No, it's not. It's not Comic Sans. I might need to work on that. Anyway. That one would be a much easier design to put in the shop. It does not require extensive illustration like the last one that I did. But that one's so pretty.
Oh, it's like full on. It should be a tattoo kind of.
It's so pretty.
Design.
It's so pretty.
Yes.
Everyone go and check out the Redbubble shop. You still probably have time to send people gifts for holidays or,
you've got time to send gifts for yourself.
That's true.
Give yourself a gift this holiday season. Go, what? I deserve something for adulting so much.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter when it arrives. Because
You're right, because it's your own gift to your own self. Anyways.
I love how we both sense how it just gets awkward. Let's just move on.
Just move on. What are your initial thoughts?
It never happened.
Sure.
I was looking forward to this one. I do like Paul Tremblay. I really enjoyed Cabin at the End of the World. I need to read the other one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really rate him as a author who writes books. Sorry, Paul Tremblay, you write books.
No, he's pleased. He's pleased that he writes books.
It just so happens to be books that get turned into movies too.
Yes.
You tell a good story.
You do tell
a good
story. Yeah. I'm always up for these kinds of books that are actual. I don't want to say proper horror, but like horror is the main focus. There's not a whole lot of other stuff going on.
It's not true slasher horror as well. It's like this one's very psychological, which is my bad.
Yes, indeed.
Let's go into summary because this one is going to be.
It's a little weird.
Yeah.
It's a little weird when we should.
It goes between three different. I'll warn people.
Yes.
It goes between three different timelines.
Yes.
Of now, and then there's then, which is like the 1990s. And then a little bit later on, and the script. So we try to make that distinction.
We do try to make a distinction so you can try to follow it a little bit. Also, the main character doesn't have a name. He is an unnamed narrator. So we mostly just call him the narrator. and it's fine.
It's better than my dude.
Is it?
The tension builds. My dude.
My dude.
Did this.
I feel like
My dude.
I would prefer we refer to him as my dude.
Well, let's refer to him as my dude.
I can't. My dude is temporary. No. Okay, let's dig in. Oh my god! Now I'm gonna accidentally do it at some point.
Sorry, not sorry.
Shit. Okay. Now, the narrator. God damn it! It starts out with it. The narrator, my dude is temporarily. They're not a real.
I love how so easy it was to mess you up.
Now, the narrator is temporarily, he's not a real monster, living in Los Angeles, having coffee with one of the producers of the horror movie remake. The producer, George, is a typical Hollywood narcissistic jackass. However, he's the first person to take a reboot of horror movie seriously. So, the narrator puts up with it. But what he won't put up with are the lies about the original horror movie. So, when George says his close cousin's friend worked on the set, the narrator calls out his bullshit. The narrator wants to protect the few people who actually did work on horror movie, as there are so few of them left now. My dude?
Ooh. Then, the first day of filming was June 9th, 1993. The director, Valentina Rojas, gave an inspirational speech. They have 4, maybe 5 weeks to shoot the whole film, and they'll be doing it in chronological order. The narrator was in his 20s and played the thin kid. For obvious reasons, he's very thin, plus his thirst for blood. Excuse me, what?
Ooh.
Okay. After Valentina, Cleo, the scriptwriter, gives a small speech, thanking everyone for their trust and hard work.
Cut to the script. Horror movie written by Cleo Picane. 4 late high school-aged teens walk down the middle of the road. Cleo, Valentina, and Carson walk together. Behind them is Thin Kid. No one is talking. The Thin Kid is indescribable. You can't see his face properly, and what you see of his clothes is very nondescript. When you think back to him, it will be a false memory. At the end of a dead-end street, the teens stop. They question whether they are going in the right direction. Ahead of them is overgrown, but they continue on. Cleo, Valentina, and Carson care about the Thin Kid, who plucks leaves from the trees and pockets them as they walk.
Then, it was in April 1993, after nearly 2 years since they last spoke, that Valentina contacted the narrator with a proposition. They met when they were both undergrads, while the narrator was working at a bar, and they became friends with casual making out, he being known as Weird Guy. After a brief and mysterious chat about a movie project she, Cleo, and Carson are working on, they offered the narrator an important role, and provide no details, only stating the role has 2 lines in the beginning. He'll be given the script the night before as they film, and the character is called the Thin Kid. Yeah, why not?
Why not? I want to ask a question. Do you prefer the narrator, Thin Kid, Weird Guy, or my dude?
At the moment, I'm preferring my dude.
Cut to the script. Exterior of an abandoned school. The 4 teens emerge from the woods into a schoolyard. Broken glass is everywhere. The swing set is rusted. There are no viable paths or roads. The teens head inside. As they do, they mention having gone to this school. Inside, the lockers and walls are graffitied. The classroom's empty. The teens chatter nervously about teachers they remember. The teens head up the stairs, Cleo clutching a paper bag in her hands. On the second floor, they head into a classroom. Thin Kid sits down on the single desk and chair they've maneuvered into the room. The 3 teens circle Thin Kid, Cleo taking a gray-green demonic reptilian-scaled mask from the paper bag. It has a mammalian snout and is so big it could house many huge teeth. And Amanda squeeze! It's ugly and grotesque. They place the mask over Thin Kid's head.
Then, the narrator, my dude, is looking at the mask Cleo has just handed him, while Valentina explains he'll be wearing it for most of the movie. The mask is a relic, and Cleo says she found it in the abandoned McKay Elementary School in Rhode Island, which is the real-life inspiration from the screenplay and the school Cleo, Valentina and Carson went to. The narrator thinks the mask is a lost object, and therefore cursed. But Cleo says it was never lost. It was left on purpose.
Now, in the Hollywood Hills, the narrator meets with horror movies director Marley Bouton. She reminds the narrator a little of Valentina. She's working on the screenplay, adding scaffolding and connective tissue rather than changes. She wants to use Cleo's original. She's sure the horror movie fans will show up for the movie they're making. What Marley wants to talk to the narrator about is reprising, at least in part, his role of Thin Kid.
Cut to the script. The Thin Kid sits while the teens remove his shoes and socks, and when he stands, Carson cuts the t-shirt from his body before indicating he remove his trousers. Thin Kid looks emaciated, standing in only his boxer shorts. The three teens place a hand on the Thin Kid and usher him to a supply closet in the room, close the door behind him, and walk out of the school. The camera stays in the room, the chalkboard is out of focus, so the words written on it are illegible. The door to the supply closet opens an inch.
Then, the classroom section of the script is delivered to the narrator's hotel room. He reads through it and is less concerned by wearing the mask than stripping to his underwear on camera. He addresses his concerns to Cleo, who promises that's as far as it will go. After the call, the narrator stands in front of the mirror in only his tighty-whities, hands covering his face in a mimic of the mask. His identity will be covered.
Then, with his scenes filmed, the narrator, still in just his tidy-whities, watches Cleo stand in for him in the supply closet. When they're wrapped for the day, the narrator asks Valentina if he can stay overnight at the school with just a flashlight. He wants to feel the space to help with being the Thin Kid. It's not a great idea. He likely only lasts 10 minutes, but Valentina lets him.
Cut to the script. Scenes flick between Valentina, Cleo, and Carson, who are at their respective homes, carrying on with life, interacting with their families. Thin Kid is still inside the supply closet in the abandoned school. Does he still have the mask on?
Then, the supply closet is creepy in the dark when the narrator is by himself. He hears strange noises inside the walls. He imagines what the Thin Kid must be imagining, must be thinking. The narrator's narration changes. He is no longer himself. He couldn't stay all night, but Thin Kid could. As Thin Kid, he listens to claws scratching in the walls. Claire freaks out. As Thin Kid, he falls asleep and wakes up to find his clothes folded underneath the blackboard in the classroom.
Things in walls. Things in walls.
Don't like things in walls.
Your
Didn't
favorite.
Like I don't know why I don't like it, but I just don't like it.
Cut to the script. Valentina, Cleo, and Carson are at school. This school is not abandoned. They trade looks and glances at an empty desk, presumably Thin Kid's. Later, in the abandoned school, they let Thin Kid out of the supply closet, motioning for him to stand in the corner of the classroom. Carson drags over a backpack, and the three teens start to throw a lighter, stones, bottle caps, and other stuff you find in an abandoned schoolyard at the Thin Kid. After, Valentina gives Thin Kid some bottles of water and snacks, ordering him to stay inside and use the bucket and bottles to go to the bathroom. They walk away, and later each teen is asked by their parents where Thin Kid is, but they tell them nothing. Thin Kid is alone in the abandoned school until he hears footsteps, and Cleo enters. She tells him about finding his mask as she paints symbols on the ground, the same ones she saw when she found it. Before she leaves, Cleo tells him to sit in the center once the paint has dried, crisscross applesauce. Thin Kid follows her instructions.
Now, The narrator still has the mask. He's brought it to the FX team in a paper bag, and when it's taken out they treat it like a holy relic. The narrator explains he's tried to get rid of it in his many house moves, but it always comes back. The story adds to the mythos of Cleo finding it. The narrator is not just there to show off the mask, he's there to have a cast of his upper body and head made. When he takes his shirt off, there is silence in the room, and the narrator can feel them looking. He waits for their questions.
Cut to the script. The three teens are back. Thin Kid is sitting in the middle of the painted circle, the mask no longer loose, but fusing to his skin. Valentina pulls out a packet of cigarettes. She lights one, takes a drag, and then stubs it out on Thin Kid, who squeals with pain. Carson joins in, then Cleo. The three teens do this repeatedly until they have no more cigarettes and walk out again. Thin Kid reads from the blackboard, then erases the words. There will be consequences.
Then, they forgot cigarettes for the scene, but a grip was sent to get some. Though they weren't supposed to actually burn the narrator with the cigarettes, it happened because he insisted. It was the only way they could get an accurate take of his skin, puckered and sore. The narrator wanted Cleo to do it, and she did. It made her sick, and she left the set. The cast and crew all lit up and smoked to help get the right smoky atmosphere. Thin Kid just stood in the corner, his smile growing behind the mask. The cigarette attack is one of the 3 scenes Valentina uploaded to YouTube.
Then, Carson died in 1998 in a car accident. Valentina in 2008 from pancreatic cancer, and various crew members died over the years. The narrator is the last remaining major participant left of horror movie. The narrator is at Summer Scares, a horror convention, with the mask, stills for autographs, and a price list. There is a continuous stream of fans. The narrator is cynical about the whole thing. Horror movie was never a full movie, just a few scenes were ever released. Some fans are cautious, some gracious, some entitled, others assholes. The last one, known as Hat Guy, is a proper douchebag. As a statement, not a question, he wants to see the narrator's hand and his missing pinky.
Cut to the script. The 3 teens are angry with Thin Kid for erasing the chalk from the blackboard. Carson drags Thin Kid to the teacher's desk where they hold his right arm down. Cleo pulls out towels and a pair of garden shears from a backpack. As Valentina manipulates Thin Kid's hand so the pinky sticks out, Carson cuts it off with the shears. Cleo comes over with the towels while Valentina picks up the pinky and holds it dripping onto a ceremonial symbols painted onto the floor. Valentina then shoves the pinky into the mouth slit of the mask, forcing it into Thin Kid's mouth. After choking and coughing, Thin Kid goes still. The 3 teens leave. The red smear around Thin Kid's mouth looks like a smile. He's looking back at us.
That might be one of the most fucked up things.
Oh, completely. I was waiting for that, for them to put it into his mouth, and I was like, please don't. Please don't. I know they did.
Then, the narrator recounts how he lost his pinky finger. At least it's the version he has recounted to interviews about the missing finger. It was an accident. He holds no one accountable. Also, no one is asking how the fake pinky attached to his hand wasn't between the blades when they closed, but his real finger. Or were the blades not safety locked when Valentina insisted they do some reshoots? Or maybe the narrator just wanted to be the real Thin Kid. Or maybe it wasn't that at all. The narrator insists they don't try and reattach the finger, that they keep on shooting the movie.
Cut to the script. Cleo visits Thin Kid and starts applying fake scales and green to his skin, covering some of the welts and wounds. She also changes the dressing on his finger. Later, the 3 teens bring a mannequin and screwdriver to the classroom. Carson indicates that Thin Kid should do while Cleo brings over a tape recorder and presses play. It's not music, it's a woman screaming. It's Cleo. Eventually, Thin Kid understands what he needs to do and strikes hard with a screwdriver into the mannequin before throwing it against the blackboard. Cleo escorts Thin Kid back to the supplying room, and 3 teens leave.
Now, Marley explains to the narrator that he won't be reprising the role of Thin Kid for the entire movie, but he will take over from the mannequin scene, so the body transformation has a bigger impact. The younger actor they have hired will film the scenes before, including the cigarette and finger scenes. Then, the final throat slash, as it would have been insensitive of Marley to ask the narrator to do that, given what happened. They talk about Valentina's editing of the throat slash scene, how it's a little off, but also one of the few scenes Valentina released, so she must have done it purposefully. Now, the party scene.
Cut to the script. Carson tells his dad that Cleo's dad wants to borrow their chainsaw. Later, though, Valentina shoots down Carson's suggestion of using it. In the classroom, the 3 teens find that Thin Kid has stuffed himself inside a small space in the supply closet. They pull out duct tape and a knife, securing the blade to Thin Kid's bandaged hand. After playing with a paper fortune teller, Valentina tells Thin Kid he's coming with them.
Then, unexpectedly, in April 2008, Valentina calls the narrator and leaves a voicemail. He heads back to the small town she grew up in, passing the abandoned school turned condos on the way to Valentina's. When she answers her door, Valentina looks terrible. She has stage 4 pancreatic cancer and not much time left. Valentina has a plan to get horror movie made. She has all the film and edited 3 scenes which she will upload to YouTube. She needs the narrator to help get the remake of horror movie made once she is gone, to go to conventions, to be seen, to help drum up interest. The narrator doesn't say yes or no, but stands, leaves the house to his car, opens the trunk, and takes out the mask.
Cut to the script. The 3 teenagers, followed by Thin Kid, arrive at the party house. As they stand looking at the bushes, contemplating how to get in, Thin Kid dashes off with a speed the teens didn't know he had, and jumps impossibly high and over the bushes. The party noises change to screams, and partygoers run from the house into the yard. Thin Kid suddenly appears, standing tall, his skin reptilian, but somehow not makeup. Valentina, Cleo and Carson back up, but Carson breaks loose and runs off. Thin Kid follows.
Now, Marley needs to know how Valentina pulled off the party scene. Thin Kid's jump was incredible. The narrator tells her, believe it or not, it was simply a trampoline. Clever angles and a freshly cut shrub. He stuck the landing, too. Marley then asks if the narrator has access to any of Valentina's original script, but he doesn't, and only ever saw his parts right before they filmed. There are notes in the script Marley was given by Valentina's family that are clearly from 1995, music choices for songs that weren't out in 1993, and she is desperate to make Valentina's vision come to life. The narrator does confirm that the unhinged scene at Carson's house was written by Valentina the morning of the shoot.
Then, Hat Guy has the wind taken out of sails when he demands to see the missing pinky, saying it's fake, and starts showing blurry pictures on his phone of people who were supposedly the narrator with the pinky finger. Eventually, after conning $40 out of Hat Guy to see his hand, he never specified which, the narrator does unwrap his hand and remove the prosthetic to show Hat Guy the stub. The stub which is gnarled and bumpy and green. Weird, right?
So weird. Cut to the script. Carson runs to his house. He bangs at the locked front door calling for his dad and is able to get inside through a side door. Inside, Carson can hear his father upstairs, but he can't find the stairs. The lights turn off after he's flicked them on. The stairs are nowhere to be found. Carson's house has turned into a maze. In the dining room, Carson stops and stares at the archway entrance, a small light in the other room. For nearly 5 minutes, Carson stares at the archway until at last, when he has resigned himself to his death, Thin Kid arrives. Carson recites a poem he hated as a child, and Thin Kid walks toward him, towers over him, opens his teeth-filled mouth, holds him, and slowly bites down on his neck, past his left shoulder blade and toward his mid-back. Budget doesn't allow for this. We'll replace with a slash or something, but you need to feel it in the script. Teeth!
Now, Janelle, the FX person who will be casting the mould, notices all the tattoos the narrator has. They look like hyper-realistic scales, as if they have texture. The narrator says nothing, and the casting process begins. It's like a cocoon, not a mask, and as it becomes uncomfortable, Janelle tells the narrator they will begin cutting him out. Once the cast is off, Janelle looks inside where the silicone touches the narrator's chest with tattoos. It has left a scale-like impression in the mould.
Then, wearing the mask, the narrator re-enters Valentina's house. Valentina takes the narrator/Thin Kid into her office and logs onto her YouTube account and uploads 3 videos, then uploads stills and the screenplay as plain text to her website and blog. Valentina takes Thin Kid upstairs to her bedroom and makes him lie on the bed and explains what he will do to help get horror movie made. Thin Kid feels sick. They return back downstairs to the kitchen, where Valentina takes an Oxycontin pill before grinding one up, stirring it into a cup of tea and handing it to Thin Kid. Eventually, the effects of the drug start to work, and Valentina uses a butcher's knife to cut off the pinky finger of the narrator's hand. Valentina leaves the kitchen and crawls into bed, while the narrator leaves and starts to drive to the doctor's, carting the severed digit. At one point, he lifts the mask, places the digit in his mouth, and tries not to chew. Because it was in the script, the narrator swallows the pinky, but it gets stuck in his throat, so he pulls the mask back down and becomes Thin Kid again, with the Thin Kid's mouth and the Thin Kid's throat.
Cut to the script. Cleo runs to Carson's house. She sees Thin Kid emerging carrying Carson's body. It's her turn next. She runs. Thin Kid follows. Cleo doesn't run as fast as she could. She wants to make sure Thin Kid keeps following her. At times, lights in the house distract him. Eventually, they reach the abandoned school and the classroom.
Then, it's near time to wrap filming. In an unusual event, Cleo insists they film the last scene before the penultimate scene so they can celebrate in the classroom. A second strange occurrence is Cleo taking the narrator for brunch. They share general chit-chat, but eventually the narrator asks if movie Cleo is the real Cleo, and she explains, yes, everyone's characters are a little of the real person, but it's not to be taken literally. Cleo and Valentina had a dream and a vision. The narrator now wonders if he is a figment of Cleo's imagination. She tells him it's the mask. It is cursed, after all.
Cut to the script. Cleo runs into the classroom. Thin Kid follows. She grabs the chainsaw from the teacher's desk where Carson left it. Cleo pulls the cord and it roars to life. She turns and faces Thin Kid across the bloody symbols on the floor.
Then, the chain is left on during the initial standoff. Thin Kid and Cleo lunge and step back from each other. The chain comes off, and when the real fight begins, Valentina isn't happy. The sound of the chainsaw is different, and the chainsaw looks wrong.
Cut to the script. Eventually, Thin Kid and Cleo are at a stalemate. Though Cleo is clearly exhausted, she makes a lunge at the Thin Kid, but he's able to hold her off. He pushes back and the chainsaw drops to the ground and goes silent. Cleo is backed up. Thin Kid picks up the chainsaw and pulls the cord, bringing it back to life. Thin Kid holds it above his head. Cleo dives forward, trying to wrestle Thin Kid, but he pushes back. Cleo lands on the teacher's desk, a sacrificial altar.
Then, the chain has been put back on the chainsaw for the final climactic scene. The table is rigged with a face shield for Cleo and a chunk of wood for the narrator to drive the chainsaw in. He makes a couple of practice cuts with a mannequin stand-in. His vision is limited in the mask, but it should be okay. They move forward with the scene. Cleo lies differently on the table. The narrator looks into her eyes as he makes the cut. Cleo puts one hand in her jeans pocket, tells the narrator/thin kid, "I'm sorry." Then, with the other hand on the chainsaw, pulls it down as she lifts herself up. This action is clearly visible on the footage as the chainsaw cuts through her jugular. The courts rule Cleo's death as a suicide.
Cut to the script. Valentina pulls Thin Kid away from Cleo's body, from the classroom where the bloody symbols are gone, out of the abandoned school, and to Valentina's bedroom. Thin Kid crawls under Valentina's bed at her instruction. We can't see the Thin Kid in the darkness, but he's always there.
Now, Marley barely uses the narrator in the reboot. His part is hacked and slashed until it's only the scene in Carson's house left. However, the narrator has a plan to volunteer to be Thin Kid for Cleo's death scene. He sneaks into the new Thin Kid's trailer the night before the scene is being shot, and the next day he hides under the bed while the new Thin Kid goes to makeup. The narrator puts cameras all over the trailers and, in his own blood, draws out the symbols on the floor and waits. When new Thin Kid returns, the narrator/Thin Kid emerges completely covered in green scales and armor, his mouth full of teeth. He grabs new Thin Kid, crushes his throat so he can't scream, and starts to take bites from him. What remains of new Thin Kid is hidden under the bed. Thin Kid will finish the carcass later. He hasn't decided how the movie will end after the chainsaw scene. A good old-fashioned monster rampage, perhaps, or something more postmodern. You'll have to watch the movie to find out.
Credits roll. Cinema people stand there with the bean bags, demanding you get out. Meanwhile, messages.
Hi, I'm Bethany Finger, the host of Prince Kai Fan Pod, a Marissa Meyer book club podcast. Join me every week during my read-along journey through all of the books by author Marissa Meyer, one chapter at a time, spoiler-free. Each episode will feature a different guest, new fan art, and laughter and joy through reading. You can find Prince Kai Fan Pod on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and all other listening platforms. And now, back to the show.
I don't even know how to explain how much I like this book and also, like, what the fuck.
Oh, the what the fuck's the question. It's also the answer.
It's so good. What the fuck, though? What the fuck? That's all there is.
It is. I mean, yeah. I think I finished and I went, what the fuck?
What? What?
You just kind of look around thinking the answer's just going to pop in front of you and you're going to be like, yeah, no.
Nope. No idea.
Yeah.
I love it, though.
What I do like the idea is it having like Clue style ending. So you know when Clue was originally in the cinema, they had different endings in different cinemas.
Yes.
I would love that to happen. So you have the Rampage, you have something postmodern, you have like 3 or 4 different endings and different releases all over. I think that would be fantastic.
That would be. That would be so good. Ugh.
So, yeah.
Ugh. I would love to see this made, but like at the same time, I want to see the original. I want to see horror movie, not book horror movie.
I want to see horror movie, but then I also want to see horror movie. So I'd love for them to do like the actual horror movie. The 1993 Valentina's directed.
Yeah.
And I would like them to release it as if Valentina was the director.
Yes.
And Cleo was in Carson and Valentina were the stars. I'd love them to release it that way. And even if it was just like this 20-minute, half an hour thing,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be a full movie.
Yeah.
But then I would like them to do a proper, actual release of the translation of the book, adaptation. Of
That would be really cool. Like, it starts out with the scenes that were released on YouTube, like, and so you think that this is just the short film, and then like it's like the making of or something, and then they just go right into what actually happened and the new scenes and all of these things pieced together. I would so watch that.
It would be an amazing like campaign if they did like just release those 3 scenes.
Yes.
Onto YouTube.
Yes.
Under Valentina's name, and everybody's like, hang on, hold the phone. Is this just a way to sell the book? Or is there something more?
Oh, that'd be so cool.
But then again, like, one of the things I really loved about this book is actually it should be listened to and not read.
Yes, definitely.
Because he constantly, the narrator, refers to it as being an audiobook. And I will quote, I'm bringing my receipts, I will quote, I would have to talk to him later about the scene not making it into one of his shitty books. This scene will be going into my own shitty audiobook. And thanks again for listening, tell your friends.
I love that quote so much.
It was one of my favorite. I literally laughed out loud and had to like tell the hubby, and he thought it was genius. And that happens 2 or 3 times in the book, that he stops and refers to this as being an audio book, that he's narrating the story to you, and that's why we know him as the narrator, because it's full circle is what it is. So as pretty as the book is, and the UK does have a black sprayed edge version, it's very nice. I really would suggest people listen to the audio book.
Definitely. I mean, always we recommend that, but this time for sure.
I was listening to the audiobook at the same time as reading the ebook version of it, though, because of doing the summary. And I don't know if you picked up on it or if you thought about it, but you know when it was doing the script, and sometimes they would repeat some of the things, some of the text was repeated, like Carson held his breath. Oh, Carson held his breath, and then it's not in the ebook. That's not written down. So the way that when they do the script sections, it's as if it is a table read.
I love it.
A proper
yes,
table read.
I assumed that's what it was, or like they were just like taking it as an unedited edition of the book. Like, so, when we're doing the podcast and we make mistakes, I'll go through and edit it out. But it's almost like they left it in on purpose. And so I didn't know if it was if it was table read or if it was just like, oh, this is just the audiobook. This is the unedited
that's exactly
version.
Exactly. That's exactly how I read it at first, that it was an unedited version. And I was like, oh, they're just keeping the mistakes in for like realism or something. But I think it's a lot of the time it is purposeful. Some of them may have been happy mistakes, but you also can hear the page turning.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't mean they.
Yeah.
Like they left it in. They left the mistakes in on purpose, but as if it was not on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes like it's the mic seems to change as well.
Yeah.
So it's like the same narrator, but it just, the audio kind of goes a bit funny and changes around. So it kind of adds to that air of realism.
Yes.
But it really helps you without seeing, because obviously when you see the written page, you see the script in a different type font.
Sure.
It's written down differently. It looks different. And you get that sense of the script being very different because of the way that they've done that and the fact it is an ensemble cast at that point. So you do get other people's voices.
Yeah.
So it's very cleverly done.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. So if you have any interest in this book, and I do suggest, Paul Tremblay is a very clever writer.
Yes.
Where you can work some things out, you can't work others, and the intrigue is definitely there throughout. You want to learn more. He teases these bits and pieces and then pulls the rug out from under your feet.
Yes.
So I would honestly, you know, if you loan a copy of the audiobook from a library, it's very much worth a listen to, and it's not a long audiobook either.
No, it's really not long at all. Getting into the actual, like, book, I really enjoyed the horror convention scenes because I love going to conventions, especially horror movie conventions. They're very, very good, and everyone who's there is always so weird. And the guests, like the paid guests that you go to see, are often in character. Like they were talking about in this one, like the guy who plays Jason is running around in the background like torturing people and slamming things down, and like that's real. That's how it is at some of them. So it's amazing. I love conventions. I also really like the scenes in Carson's house, either the script versions or whatever is actually happening. I love that his house is weirdly maze-like, and clearly, like, his father is a monster too. His father is not a good father.
Oh no, he's an asshole.
But I love those scenes where he's just walking around his house and like nothing really menacing is even going on, but it just seems like his house there's something going on in that house.
It's a horribly oppressive house.
It is. Yeah. It is. And then I really, really love the scene where he's there staring out into the archway for 5 solid minutes and nothing happens.
We literally just say nothing happens for 5 minutes, but it's about 20 pages.
It is.
10, 20
it's
pages.
It's a huge chunk of text, and it's just like the extreme anxiety of waiting for something to happen because you know it's going to happen. And then they talk about like, well, if this was actually in the movie, like, would we actually do this sort of thing? But oh, it's so good.
Oh, and it's saying how some moviegoers will have gone to the toilet or the concession stand or have gone home thinking that something's broken, or, you know, it gets anxious, and
yeah,
it really builds it in there.
Or if you're watching it at home in your living room, like you'll check your VHS, you'll check your DVD to make sure that it hasn't stopped playing. Like, it's so good.
Yeah, I as 1 minute's passed, I'm like, how long is it gonna last for? 2 minutes, I'm like, okay. 3 minutes, I'm like, all right. So it goes past that awkward point of it no longer being awkward back into that terrifying point of it being horrible. Yeah, that was really interesting.
I could just imagine actually watching that scene because, like, you know, in most horror movies, like, if there's a scene with a window or a mirror, like, you know you're going to see something that you don't want to see when you look through the window or you look in the mirror. And so I would be like, I could imagine myself sitting on the edge of my seat, staring at every bit of the screen, trying to see what is moving, what is happening, where is it coming from.
Yeah.
It would be so good.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so well done. So, what do you think actually? What the fuck?
No idea. I have no idea.
Like, let's just spitball some thoughts. Yeah. So, thought one is the narrator is possessed by the thin kid, like a thin kid demonic force that wears the mask and is reptilian in some form, weird form. The other one is Valentina Cleo and Carson created the monster and turned the narrator into Thin Kid, which is very much mirroring what happened in the movie as well, the way that they tortured him. But then you've got to consider the symbols that were painted on the ground.
Yeah.
Like, what were the symbols? What was that stuff out on the chalkboard? But then I always think you're introduced to the narrator because he is tall and thin and likes to bite and drink and blood. So you kind of, was Thin Kid there all the time? Is the narrator not the narrator? The narrator is just Thin Kid.
I don't know.
There's too much.
It's so much.
But then we're lied to throughout the entire book.
Right?
So we're told that he loses part of his pinky on set. But actually, it's all part of Valentina's plan. Because Valentina's the one who then takes his pinky.
Yes.
So, and Valentina's not the one who fed him his own pinky. He eats his own pinky.
Yes.
But then you kind of like, well, did Cleo put the scales on him as well?
I don't know. It's a complete and total mindfuck, this entire book. I think that, like the way I was imagining it, which is probably completely untrue, is that they started making this movie with, and I'm just picturing it like in the order that it happens in. They start making this movie with this kid who they're like pretending is they're being friends with, but really they're just despicable people, and they're wanting to, like Blair Witch sort of make a movie, and they want everyone to think that it's real. And yeah. But I think that they end up just actually torturing this kid. And so then they have this mask that's supposedly cursed. But I like to think that they're just treating this kid like shit, and the mask is actually cursed, and like the symbols on the floor and stuff actually mean something. And so because the Thin Kid is being literally tortured on film, that the mask and the symbols like give him this ability. So in my head, he is Thin Kid, and Thin Kid is a monster, but it happened because he was being bullied and tortured. So the whole like thing is don't be a garbage person.
No, I think your explanation is the closest to what I think happened, and the entire reason Horror Movie was made was because Valentina wanted to be a filmmaker and she wanted to make a horror movie, and Cleo has suicidal ideation.
Yes, and that...
So it's not touched upon in the summary because it happens at one scene, but Cleo and Valentina have had a conversation where Cleo, she doesn't want to die, but she does want to die because she's like, if it happens, she's not going to be upset by that.
Yeah, and it's like specifically mentions that whenever she uses the stairs, she doesn't hold on to. She puts her hands in her pockets. Yeah, she does not hold on to handrails. She would not try to stop herself from falling down the stairs.
Yeah, so she doesn't have any any connection to safety of oneself. But she's not going to be purposeful in that action. So it's almost as if the entire movie has been made in order to, as a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes. Yeah.
And Valentina wanted to make a movie.
Yeah, and so they're like, okay, well, you want to make a movie, let's make you famous. And I'll just conveniently die in the last scene, so everything that all of my hopes and dreams are fulfilled, and you'll be a famous movie director because of it.
Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah.
Again, what the fuck?
What the fuck? What the actual fuck?
What the actual fuck?
Yeah. Another scene.
I did like that fact it was a whole slow burn.
Yeah.
The entire thing.
Yeah.
And I say the whole thing came together at the end, but I don't think it did.
No, it didn't. It didn't really. I do love the ending with the eating of new Thin Kid, and it felt very like, especially in the remake of it, which is interesting because we have a whole thing of remakes and reboots that we're going to talk about later, or we're going to play Would You Rather, whatever. it reminded me of scenes in the new version of It where Pennywise's mouth opens up really, really slowly, and it's just rows upon rows upon rows of teeth. And that's just how I imagined it happening in this. And I really enjoyed it because I like it. And I like teeth.
Well, exactly. In my head, like, the mask is really kind of like... I'm going to say Harryhausen. So you know those stop motion movies? I grew up on those. A very special place in my heart. But you know how they're like just slightly dodgy, like they're not realistic. You look at it and you go, that is a Harryhausen movie. Take one of his like kind of like almost like the early Godzillas as well. Take that kind of really early reptilian kind of figure, Harryhausen style. That's the mask. Okay, and then at the end in the trailer when he comes out full scale and armoured, he looks like a Harryhausen stop motion kind of lizard.
I can see it.
Godzilla mammalian creature.
Yeah.
It's just it's real, but it's not real. It's kind of it's off.
Yes.
And you're looking at it and going, what the fuck?
Yes.
And then the It style mouth opens up.
Yes. I think what the fuck could actually have just been the entire summary.
Yeah. Damn, I could have saved myself
I know.
some hours. Okay.
What the fuck?
What the fuck? What the fuck? Do you think if they ever did make this as a movie, they would never name the narrator as well? I would be upset if they gave the narrator an actual name.
Would hope so. I would actually hope that all the narrators, or a lot of the narrator stuff, was just done in voiceover.
It'd be difficult for like certain scenes where he's like getting the FX.
Sure. Yeah, but
unless they did it from a first person perspective, so you only ever see through his eyes.
Oh, yep, that would be really good.
You might look down and see the emaciated body.
Yeah,
but
you'll see a scale or a cigarette burn scar or something, but
saggy underwear,
dirty, saggy underpants.
Yes.
Ugh.
Cool.
Horrible. I love it. Let's watch it. Let's do it.
It's disgusting and horrible and ridiculous.
Yeah,
let's do it.
I love it. I love it so much. Is it possible for there to be a favorite character in this one?
I don't know, because frankly most people are unlikable in this.
Yeah.
But then a favourite character doesn't have to be likeable.
Right.
How often do we like the bad guy?
Every time. Which is why I think my favourite character is possibly monster version of Thin Kid.
Oh, at this point, yeah, it's the trailer Harryhausen monster version of Thin Kid right now. But I will give a shout out to Marley, the director, because she wanted to keep Valentina's image, like her vision, alive. She wanted to produce and make people see what Valentina saw, and she seemed to be a genuine lover of horror.
Yes.
So I'm going to give her like an honourable mention in terms of potential likability.
Yes.
But yeah, monster version of Thin Kid, MVP.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. What about surprises? Like it's not a typical book that we can discuss in the way that we normally would, because what the fuck?
I think my biggest surprise is the fact we didn't call him my dude as much as I was expecting.
It felt like that was too silly for the subject matter, and we would have ruined the book. It would have been
highly inappropriate. My dude opened his mouth, many rows of jagged teeth, and bit down on the new Thin Kid. The new my dude.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm glad we let that one go appropriately. But yeah, I'm surprised we didn't keep it going a bit longer.
I know. Normally we would, but this it felt too important to completely ruin.
So what you're saying is you're welcome.
Yes, definitely. I think legitimately I am surprised that the full-length original was never shared.
Yeah, I get that. I also get the fact that Valentina was teasing. But only 3 scenes?
Yeah. And then that makes me think, like, did they actually film everything? Or was this all a whole... It was just a mindfuck?
Again, I asked the question, what the fuck? And the answer is, what the fuck?
I loved it, though.
Yeah, I think this is one of these where my initial reaction when I finished it was obviously what the fuck?
Yes, definitely.
But also, did I enjoy that? I don't know. And the more you think about it, the more you're like, oh, actually, it's because it plays on your brain, and you kind of tie yourself in knots and go around mazes if you try to think things through. So yeah, actually, it is an enjoyable time. It just
doesn't.
What the fuck?
Just what the fuck? It doesn't make any sense in such a perfect way.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Okay, so favorite final thought quote? Should we move on?
My first one is what the fuck?
What the fuck?
And my second one is my dude. But seriously. This one's appropriate actually after given what I've just said. People can never tell when I'm joking. It's a me problem. It was okay to be an egomaniac or an asshole or both if you were competent and weren't a fucking sellout. Quite enjoyed that one. I really enjoyed this. It was Valentina who said this one. I think it was Valentina. Was that Valentina or Marley? A movie is a collection of beautiful lies that somehow add up to being the truth, or a truth. In this case, an ugly one. But the first spoken line in any movie is not a lie and is always the truest.
I really like that. And now I want to pay special attention to every horror movie that I ever watch for the first line. Or I guess any movie. It doesn't have to be horror, but... so good.
Okay, what have you got?
I like that you took ones that are like not Thin Kid related.
I kind of feel like I'm going to have to relieve those ones for you.
All of mine are the worst. We can't know what he's thinking. We can't know what anyone else is thinking, even when they tell us. That one's not so creepy. And then also, when one was going to be caught within the tractor beam stare of the public eye, one must accessorize. And, yes. And now finally creepy ones. He is what the mask promised he would become now that he has been baptized in blood. And finally, there is no mask. The mask is me. So good. It's so good. All the teeth. Oh. Okay, I just want to go through and read it again.
No, listen to it.
I know. I want to.
Do it. I'm not stopping you.
I can't.
The next summary is stopping you.
That is exactly what I was about to say. I cannot, because I've been listening to this next book since my birthday. And I'm not finished with the summary. Of course, I did take a very extended break in between, but...
I was going to say,
still,
it's not continuous.
No, I listened to like 6 books in between my birthday and...
All of them narrated by the same person.
Yes, curse. It's fine.
Anywho.
It's fine. Is it time to play Would You Rather?
Have you get your finger guns out? Would you rather? Yay! Okay, we asked on social media, would you rather watch a reboot or a remake? And on Facebook, it was 100% a reboot. On Instagram, it was 56% to remake. On TikTok, it was 57% to a reboot. And Threads was just 50-50. They don't know what's going on.
They don't know what's going on.
That's fair. We do have some comments. Claire on Facebook said, I'd say a reboot brings something new and fresh to the story.
Coral on Facebook says, who doesn't love a good reboot if it's done right?
Courtney on Facebook said, I've been waiting for Friday the 13th to be rebooted. Those were fun.
Katrina on Facebook says, so I have to be honest. I had to Google both terms, and I think I now understand the difference. I'm going to say reboot, so you get something new. I'm thinking if the Jumanji films, which I thought they were remaking at first, and was pleasantly surprised when I realized it was a reboot. I love both versions.
Colin on Facebook said, reboot please. Most remakes are completely unnecessary and lean far too heavily on what came before it. A reboot can offer something new and fresh without just treading old ground. Plus, a reboot is far more exciting. All the rules go out of the window and nobody's safe. Also, nobody's perfect. Also, nobody's perfect. But I don't think that's helpful inclusion here. Where was I? Nerfect. Reboot. 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 Yeah, good mouthfeel. Like the shape of it. It's a good word. Judgment has been passed.
Excellent. Finally, Candace on Facebook says, never a remake. Leave the classics alone. Make something new.
I agree with that one.
I kind of think I like Katrina's reasoning because I would like both versions. I would like all versions of horror movies, especially. So, like, yeah, you've got your old version. Maybe I just like both. Maybe I like a remake and a reboot.
Quite possibly, but that's an option C, so you need to work it a bit more smoothly.
I think I'll go reboot. Or maybe like the Scream universe where I can't remember the word.
They're just constantly adding to it though with that one.
Yeah.
It's just extending.
But in the Scream universe, they're talking about like how they're in a trilogy and then there's a prequel and then there's a requel and like so they're rebooting the story before the story starts and all of that. I don't know. I just like it. I don't care what the answer to this question is. I love everything all the time. All horror movies all the time.
I'm just going to say a reboot because when has a remake ever been any good? I can't think off the top of my head.
It was very good.
Okay. It seems like the exception to the rule though. Making something its own unique beast is better than going back and taking what is beloved and trying to make it better. You're not making it better. For me, people remake stuff that doesn't need to be remade.
Yes, I agree with that.
They're remaking classics.
Yes.
And things that are loved, things that are beloved that have cult followings.
Yes.
And they're doing it simply to make money.
Yeah.
Like Point Blank, okay? The original Point Blank is naff. It's terrible. I freaking love it.
So good.
The remake sucks ass.
Oh.
Like, it sucks dirty ass.
It was not good.
It was bad. It was not good. And that's like prime example.
Oh.
So, for me, a reboot pays homage to the original.
Yeah.
And says, this still exists.
Yeah.
You enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's there. Whereas a remake to me is saying, well, we weren't happy with the original, so even though these millions of people love it, it's a draw at conventions, everybody thinks it's the best thing since sliced bread, but you know what, yous are all wrong, this is going to be better.
Yes.
And it's almost an insult to the original that was made. Now, if the original is shit, fine.
Yeah.
But I can't think of one. Because I think even with it, the original is just as beloved as the remake is.
Yeah, they're both very
and
good.
because they are different beasts,
Yeah.
though. Same monster.
Yeah.
So that's my reasoning. I would rather a reboot because it's honours what's been, whereas a remake can sometimes take a giant shit on it.
I appreciate that you went with Point Blank, and then that inspired me to mention another fantastic Patrick Swayze movie, Roadhouse.
Oh my god. Why do they keep doing this to Patrick Swayze movies?
I don't know, because he's not with us anymore to defend himself, which is unfortunate.
I am genuinely worried about Tim Curry.
I know.
Because I've got a feeling it's going to happen.
Yeah, probably. But did you watch Roadhouse? Did you watch the original Roadhouse and the remake of Roadhouse?
Unfortunately, I have seen. Not unfortunately, I've seen the original. The original is superb, but yes, unfortunately, I have seen it. It's just.
It was hilariously bad.
There's another one as well. Oh God. Is it Red Dawn? It's the post-apocalyptic one.
I haven't watched that set. But I imagine...
Talk about Roadhouse.
I don't want to talk about Roadhouse, except for the scene where Patrick Swayze ripped the guy's throat out, because that was amazing. And I waited the entire movie, the new version of Roadhouse, for him to rip someone's throat out. But no, he was just a UFC fighter. Ugh. Not a crazy ex-military commando type guy. Ugh.
Yes. Red Dawn. Patrick Swayze again is being done dirty. The Red Dawn, 1984 Red Dawn, Patrick Swayze is brilliant. Post-apocalyptic, it's like, I think it's the Russians are invading the US. And then they remade it. And it was they remade it, Chris Hemsworth was in it, and it's 2012. And quite frankly, it's a pile of garbage.
Oh, well, now I gotta watch it. I didn't watch it.
Yeah, watch it. It's not great. It's really not great. But now I'm thinking, it's not paranoia if people are genuinely out to get you. Oh, Thingy was in it as well. What you call it? Peter from Hunger Games. He's in it too.
Oh, you love Peter Malark.
Oh, Peter Malark is just.
I can't.
He's a person who exists in fiction. Yeah, it's not great.
It's not.
So,
now I'm just thinking of other really great movies from the 80s and early 90s that are getting this treatment. Like, I'm really, really worried about The Running Man.
Oh,
The Running Man is one of my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movies of all time. And it's very different to the book. And so I'm concerned. I mean, I'm not, because the book was very good. And so I imagine that the movie, the new one that they're doing, is going to be more true to the book. And it is not going to feature Arnold Schwarzenegger pulling chairs out of car seats out of cars and throwing them, and all the horrible things. And that one guy with the wrapped up in Christmas twinkle lights at the end, and that was his costume, and it was so bad. Oh my god, I love The Running Man.
The Running Man is perfection. But you know what, if they did do The Running Man but they did it based on the book, I would be less upset, because knowing it's the book, it's a different beast completely.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, Total Recall. Okay, so Arnold Schwarzenegger may be another one who's been done dirty, because Total Recall, the remake of that, was rubbish.
It was not good. But the original, again, I just love Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. I do, and I'm not ashamed of it. And
no,
I've talked about it
I would be upset if you
many times on the podcast. Total Recall is one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time. So. Yeah. The new version, not great. Not great.
They keep redoing. I say they keep redoing Predator movies, but it's kind of just expanding
It
on the
is.
existing that's there.
What about
Conan the Barbarian.
Oh, I love Conan the Barbarian.
I mean, let's be honest. The original 1982 is
so good.
It's seminal. Okay, it's seminal.
So good.
But the remake that Jason Momoa did was not seminal.
No, it did not have James Earl Jones slowly and sexily turning into a snake.
No, it didn't. It didn't. So far, Patrick Swayze and Arnold Schwarzenegger have been done the dirty.
They have been.
I think we've cracked some kind of.
We have,
we've
but you know what I don't hate. I don't hate Judge Dredd with
Sly Stallone.
No, the remake.
It's just Dredd. That's just
yes,
Dredd.
But
that
I mean,
is one of my favourite movies.
Dredd?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Carl Urban Dredd.
Carl Urban is just a dream.
He's one of my favourites.
Yes.
I have such fond memories of being. I've seen it beforehand, but I went to a sci-fi convention at a caravan park resort place in Wales, and I was there with a huge bunch of friends, and they had a cinema screening on a night time, and I think it was the popular vote to watch. So sitting there with it's surrounded by the smell of popcorn and hot dogs on a big screen, watching it with friends, eating delicious hot dog, delicious popcorn, drinking ice cold beers, watching Dredd at midnight at the sci-fi convention is one of my fondest memories, and I love Dredd.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes. It was good. I also don't think I hated RoboCop. I mean, it wasn't good. It wasn't 80s RoboCop.
No.
Anyway, that first question of Would You Rather has now lasted approximately 37 minutes. So we should probably move on to other...
One-word answers from this point forward.
Yes,
next question.
Yes. Would you rather work on the original Cursed movie or work on the reboot? Just to follow up.
Not knowing what Thin Kid's going to do on the reboot, I'm quite worried. I'm going to say I want to work on the original Cursed movie because I want to find out what the fuck.
What the fuck? What the actual fuck?
So I will get the answer to the question. Yeah. What the fuck? If I work on the original Cursed movie, so I'm going to work on the original Cursed movie.
Same. I want to be a part of it. I want to understand what the actual fuck. So yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Original. Yeah. But I wouldn't mind being involved in the reboot if I were involved with the original.
So you want to be Thin Kid?
Obviously. Obviously.
Okay. Would you rather strip to your underwear on camera or wear a mask the whole time filming? Thin Kid.
I'm wearing a mask.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a mask.
I'm going to wear the mask the whole time. I'd give you the restricted vision. I don't want it melding into my skin though. That was gross.
I mean, if it melds into your skin, does that give you the power of teeth?
Potentially. Or scales. You become the Harryhausen monster.
Fine with it.
Yeah.
Fine with it.
You're going to go and eat some corpses.
Yeah, fine. Done. Yes.
Do it now.
Doing it currently. Would you rather lose your pinky finger and maybe eat it, or be burned with cigarettes?
God, I would choose neither of them.
Neither of them.
Awful.
Ugh.
Oh.
I'm gonna choose the cigarettes because if I lose my pinky finger and we don't reattach it, and if I perhaps eat it, I got to deal with that the entire rest of my life, not having a pinky. And I know that, like, I will have burn scars, but I feel like a burn scar is different from literally missing a finger.
Yeah, amputation is different to a burn scar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that one as well.
But please none of the above.
Neither.
No.
Neither.
Mm-mm. No.
Neither.
Mm-mm.
No.
Mm-mm.
No. I'm going to ask a nice, easy one to finish us off with because that was horrible.
Yeah, okay.
Would you rather be a screenwriter or a director or an FX person?
FX person, immediately. That is the only answer.
I kind of want to be a screenwriter.
You be the screenwriter and I'll do the effects.
Okay, it'll be lots of teeth.
Of course it will,
Can I
because
put the order in now?
Because you like me and you will write me something to do with lots of teeth.
Yes, there may be something with lots of hair on it as well, like some kind of hairy beast with lots of teeth.
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
It has a really happy smile and big puppy dog style eyes.
Yes.
But then it slowly opens its mouth and there's just teeth.
Yes.
And teeth. And teeth.
Yeah, I prefer that. I would love
and
it.
slowly becomes more covered in blood.
Yes, thank
and
you.
It becomes more matted.
Thank you for including that. Yeah, definitely.
As it eats more corpses.
Yes.
It becomes more and more disgusting.
Yes. But I love doing creepy cosplay. I love making my own blood. And my own
I love making my own blood too.
Yeah, on the inside. I like making it on the outside. Oh, okay. I also like making many, many different types of teeth. Ugh. That would be such a cool job.
It really would. I always like Foley artists as well.
Oh, yes. Oh, I would love...
I think Foley's amazing.
Yes. Oh, just crack a celery. Oh, is that a celery or is that a femur? Hard to say. Do clip clops. Do clip clops. Wait, that's next week. Gross. Next week. Next week, Claire, we get to talk about that.
Oh, to be continued. Right, come on, let's go. Let's do this. Oh, lol.
Okay, if you liked this, try this. What are you going to suggest?
Well, originally I was thinking it makes sense for Burn the Negative by Josh Winning.
Sure, yes.
We have discussed it on the podcast before. It's very similar in that you have a narrator telling a story about a movie that's being made. It's getting It's interesting. Yes. There's twists. There's turns.
Unreliable fucking narrators too.
Oh, she's a dick.
Oh.
Plus, Josh Winning, who is not a dick.
No. It's beautiful.
We interviewed him, and
delightful
he is a
being.
delightful human being. But I'm not going to tell you. That's not going to be my recommendation. I am holding the book up for our Patreons.
I'm so surprised
to see. So I'm not going to recommend this Josh Winning book at all. But you should still check out the book, and you should still go and check out our episodes.
Yes, definitely.
And it's great. So if you're part of a Patreon, you can see me holding it up right now.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
So do you know what you could do? Join our Patreon and see me holding up the book.
Yes.
It's worth $1
it is
just to see me
worth
hold up the book.
$1.
What I am going to show you, and I'm going to hold this book up as well, so, join the Patreon and see me hold up a book.
Sure.
Is Heads Will Roll by Josh Winning.
Wait, but mine looks different.
Ooh. Yeah. You've got the shiny cover this time.
Yeah, look at my ring lights. Oh, there's another one.
And I have mine's signed as well.
Oh, mine is not.
Because, and I've got a signed postcard, a personalised postcard as well, because Josh Winning did a fantastic, actually both of my books are now signed because he sent me a couple of
tip-ins
things. I did a pre-order thing where I just sent off and it was great, so follow my socials and you too can get it. So I'm actually going to recommend Heads Will Roll by Josh Winning, which is his new book. And I will be very surprised if we don't cover it on this show. So it's Burn the Negative is more appropriate, but I'm going to go with the one that we haven't actually discussed.
Yes.
And the summary from the book itself. Willow is in need of an escape. A former sitcom star, she's being publicly shamed on the internet after posting something she really shouldn't have. She checks into Camp Castaway, an adults-only retreat based in an old campground in the woods. It's the first night the campers gather around the fire to tell some ghost stories. That's when Willow hears the tale of Knock Knock Nancy, a local urban legend about a witch brutally beheaded in this very woodland. They say her restless spirit knocks on doors late at night. If you answer, she'll take your head. Willow doesn't believe in the ghost stories. The next day, a camper has vanished under mysterious circumstances. And then that evening, in her cabin, Willow hears it. Knock, knock, knock. How delightful does that sound? Sounds so fun.
So good.
I've got the post-op players as well. So yeah, it might not be, but yeah, so check. You know what? Just check out Josh Winning.
Yeah, for real. He's good.
For real.
And
he is
an amazing human being.
Yes, I have his first book somewhere as well. Colin was reading it, so I don't know where it is. Anywho, what have you got?
Well, I'm torn because I thought that I would share another book that I read while we were trying to figure out which books we were going to cover this month for our,
Yes.
Booyah, It's the 90s, yo. But so I listened to this entire book, and then I listened to, actually the other way around. I listened to this book that I was thinking about suggesting, and then I listened to horror movie, and then we picked horror movie. So I don't know if I want to suggest this one or not. And then I picked out another one that I haven't read, but I want to read.
Give me any and all of them if you want.
Both of them. Okay. So the one that I did read before is Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose. And it was good. It was interesting, but it wouldn't have made a good episode, if that makes sense. A lot of stuff.
It makes perfect sense to me, but then I understand what we have to do to get a good episode.
Right. So a lot of stuff happens, and it's... Yeah, anyway, so I'm going to share that, and I guess I'll share the other one that I want to read too. So here's the summary for Home is Where the Bodies Are. After their mother passes, 3 estranged siblings reunite to sort out her estate. Beth, the oldest, never left home. She stayed with her mom, caring for her until the very end. Nicole, the middle child, has been kept at arm's length due to her ongoing battle with a serious drug addiction. Michael, the youngest, lives out of state and hasn't been back to their small Wisconsin town since their father ran out on them 7 years ago. While going through their parents' belongings, the siblings stumble upon a collection of home videos and decide to revisit those happier memories. However, the nostalgia is cut short when one of the VHS tapes reveals a night back in 1999 that none of them have any recollection of. On screen, their father appears covered in blood. What follows is a dead body and a pact between their parents to get rid of it before the video abruptly ends. Beth, Nicole, and Michael must now decide whether to leave the past in the past or uncover the dark secret their mother took to her grave.
Ooh.
So it was very twisty and good, but not a good episode. It would not have made a good episode. There was a lot of lot of drug addiction and dealing with the death of a parent and struggling, and not an exciting episode. No. So then the other one that I want to read that I have not yet read is called How to Make a Horror Movie and Survive by Craig DeLuey. This summary is from Goodreads. Horror isn't horror unless it's real. Max Mari should be on top of the world. He's a famous horror director. Actors love him. Hollywood needs him. He's making money hand over fist. But it's the 80s, and he's directing cheap slashers for audiences who only crave more blood, not real art, not real horror. And Max's slimy producer refuses to fund any of his new ideas. Sally Priest dreams of being the final girl. She knows she's got what it takes to score the lead role, even if she's only been cast in small parts so far. When Sally meets Max at his latest rap party, she sets out to impress him and prove her scream queen prowess. But when Max discovers an old camera that filmed a very real Hollywood horror, he knows that he has to use this camera for his next movie. The only problem is that it came with a cryptic warning, and sometimes whales. By the time Max discovers the true evil lying within, he's already dead set on finishing the scariest movie ever put to film. And like it or not, it's Sally's time to shine as the final girl. I really want to read it, especially because the camera sometimes wails. And I don't know why that is hilarious to me, and I hope that it is much scarier, but I want to read it. And so I'm probably gonna.
It sounds really good, yeah.
So many good options. But this one would not have worked, however, for Booyah It's the 90s Yo, because this is totally radical. It's the 80s.
Oh, and we're not having that theme either in 2025.
No,
that might be 2026. I'm not playing 2026.
I mean, I feel like you should.
Oh, fine.
You pull up and create a 2026 document while I read our new and indie spotlight. Sounds like a good plan? It's a good trade.
2026 already.
I know. I hate it. I hate it, but I also love it. Okay, so new and indie spotlight. We got this one in our email a couple of months ago. No, not even a couple of months. But it has just released. It's called We Are the Beasts by Gigi Griffiths. When brutal, mysterious deaths plague the countryside and whispers of a mountain beast reach the quiet French hamlet of Mende, 16-year-old Josephine and her best friend Clara see an opportunity rather than a curse. For years, the girls of Mende have lived in fear, seizing the chance to get them out. Josephine and Clara fake their friends' deaths using the beast's attacks as a cover. But escape is harder than they thought, and those fake deaths might just become real ones. It sounds so good. I've been holding on to it for a while to share in the new and indie spotlight because it needed to happen this month.
Nice.
Just so good.
Nice.
Or it actually probably should have happened last month with Sounds Like Murder, but
I mean, it's appropriate.
all of our
either way.
books sound like murder if we're being perfectly honest.
That's what somebody said to me. They were like, how's this a special theme? Have you seen what books you read? I was like, body count.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fine. It's fine. Anyway, that's it for this episode of Fictional Hangover. I'm Amanda.
I think I'm Claire.
Join us next time as we discuss Iron Flame. Gross. I'm so glad I cannot hear what you just did because Zoom cut it out. But everyone will get to enjoy it in our audio release of this episode. Jesus fucking Christ. Look out for our Would You Rather polls and monthly challenges on social media. Don't forget about our book club on Discord. Be sure to visit our shop on Redbubble at fictionalhangover.redbubble.com for all your favorite Fictional Hangover themed merchandise and become a patron of ours on Patreon at patreon.com/fictionalhangover. Until next time, remember, the only cure for a fictional hangover is another book.
If you go to Patreon, you could see what I did.
Oh, God bless us all.
No, we're cursed.
Oh, I almost threw up. I'm so glad I couldn't hear it. I'm so glad I couldn't hear it.
But you will have heard it because
No,
you've been
I don't want to.
Oh, that was so funny.
Oh, I don't want to hear it. Oh, gross.
you can find us at fictionalhangover.com and follow us on all social media at Fictional Hangover. If you like this episode, check out our others and be sure to rate, review and subscribe so you don't miss out. Thanks for listening.